Welcome to the Success Pick and Mix podcast. I'm your host, Nicky Raby, a professional pick and mixer. I'm a personal brand coach, a speaker, an actor, a creator, and a podcaster. I'm on a mission to help you find and create your version of success. Your pick and mix of life and business on your terms. A blend that complements your personality, your goals, and your circumstances. Since 2018, I've been sharing interviews and mini episodes to help you unlock your next step, to make it real and make it happen. Round here, we dream big. We go for the ideal version. We talk about money and make moves our future selves would be proud of. This podcast is free and available for you whenever you need it. So do rate, review, and subscribe for new episodes. If you want to go deeper with my support, check out my freebies house and unlock the rooms you choose. nickyraby.com/freebies house. I also have workshops, programs, and one-on-one bespoke offerings. For prices and availability, go to nickyraby.com. Thank you, as always, for spending some time with me and my guests. Now, on to today's episode. In today's episode, I'm talking to Hannah Hardy-Jones, who is the founder of the Kite program, the world's first personal development and practical wellbeing app for mothers. She left her professional career in HR to develop and launch this product, and in 4 months, the app is being used across the globe. Hannah struggled with her mental health after her first baby and was diagnosed with postpartum bipolar. She speaks publicly about her journey. Now, this was recorded back in the summer in a very hot, sweaty July in London. I was very pregnant at the time, and Hannah is based in New Zealand. I really hope that you enjoy our chat. There's lots about resilience and launching an idea and getting yourself out there and using your own experience and your journey, that's right, the J word, and the hard times along the way to great use going forward. I hope you enjoy this as always. If you do, please share it with a friend. I would love to spread that inspiration. Here's the episode. Hey Hannah, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. So we are recording this at opposite sides of the world. I'm in London, 36 weeks pregnant, a little bit sweaty, obviously in a dewy kind of effortless goddess way. And you're in New Zealand. So yeah, tell me, and 1 degree you were saying. So tell us what you do and what your business is all about.
So I'm in New Zealand in Christchurch, which is in the South Island, and I am the founder of an app called the Kite program, which launched just over 4 months ago, so still a very new baby. And I had been working on that for the last year. And previous to that, I had worked in human resources, so in a range of different industries, and mainly working around leadership development and conflict resolution and that type of thing. And yeah, it's a huge switch to what I'm doing now. And the app is designed for mothers, and it's the world's first personal development app for mums. So it doesn't focus on parenting skills or how to lose weight after your baby. It's not so much a sort of meditation type app. It's very much practical well-being for all mums of all stages to deal with the everyday issues they have, mum guilt, sleep, feeling disconnected from their partner, a range of different topics. So
I'm like, tick. Yes, exactly. Well, I think this is so important, and thank goodness people are talking about it now and being honest about what a juggle and what a balancing, dangling act it can be sometimes, because I know certainly when I was growing up, if you ever met anybody in the supermarket, even if I knew that my mum, not that I would be able to articulate this necessarily, but even if I could see that my mum was really tired, or we had a lot going on, or she was a little bit snappy or whatever, as soon as she saw somebody in the supermarket, it was like, how are you? I'm fine, I'm great, how are you? and I just remember thinking, you were just a bit growly in the car then. And,
you're not fun. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So where did the idea come from? Like, did you always know you were going to build an app, or were you sort of halfway in and going, oh my goodness, I'm actually building an app here?
Yeah, it was a little bit like that. So I had, honestly, it was actually an epiphany because, and I can go into it a bit more, but I had a sort of a really difficult sort of mental health journey after I had my first baby. And going back to my career in HR, it was sort of felt like an achievement that I'd got to that point, that I'd become well and, I'd got back to where I was. And so I just honestly felt like I was going to do that for the rest of my life, and HR was everything to me. And I met a woman at an event, and she was a life coach, and she was asking me why I loved my career so much, and wow, not many people love what they're going to do and what they're doing. And I was telling her how much I loved it, and I went home that night, and I suddenly it just hit me. I don't want to be doing this. Why am I doing this? I don't think I do love it. I want to help, I want to help mums. I want to use my mental health experience, but also my HR experience, and I want to develop a program for mothers. So at the start, at that point, it was very much going to be, I sort of envisaged going into maybe workplaces and talking to mums, or having kind of online consults. So I started writing the program, really not knowing how I was going to deliver it. And I surveyed a huge group of mothers on what their challenges were. And as that came through, the biggest things were mums, time poor. They don't have time to be going to a life coach and sitting down, half the time. They don't have the money. And then just finding, how is it going to actually fit in, like accessible and be private. Yeah. And so it was at that point I realised that an app was the absolute perfect vehicle. And because there isn't anything else like this available, I wanted to create something really beautiful and different, so that the mums who don't have the time or the money could use this as a resource. And then obviously people that wanted more and they want more one-on-one contact, then they could get that too. So that's kind of how that journey happened, really.
Amazing. And I think you've really picked up on something, that in those first few months everything is so unpredictable, rather. It's like everything is thrown up in the air and you're just trying to sellotape everything back together. And certainly I found those first few months of motherhood, like, it was so exciting. I couldn't believe that I'd produced a child, and it was amazing, but that sleep deprivation sort of just interfered with everything. And although I had a lot of clarity and ambition and like, right, okay, I've got another mouth to feed now, like I've really got to crack on, it was almost like my brain, and on a sort of cellular level, it almost had to get rid of any old shite that I'd been carrying around for years. So all these things of like, that person who was so mean to me at school and took my lunch money, like it all felt like it came out, and you're so raw and vulnerable and kind of open to the elements in that time. So I think also that sense of being able to do things when you're on your own, on your time, when you've just got 5 minutes just to sit down, you've really tapped into something. Because when people go, do you want to come on a day retreat, or do you want to come and like drink a protein shake with us at 4 a.m, it's just not feasible, however productive or organised you are.
Oh, I know, absolutely. And the thing that really, really hit me was, mums with new babies, that's absolutely an area, that's really important. But it was the fact that there's no resources for mothers as they get, school-age kids and they go back to work, and mums with teenagers. And that was one thing when I surveyed these mothers, the mums with teenagers were the ones that were feeling the most isolated and the most kind of at a loss of what they were meant to be doing and what their identity was. And, and I kind of just sort of think in society I think we're quite good now at sort of nurturing that new mum kind of area, and then it's almost like you progress and you kind of just you get on with it. You're just a mum. You chose to be a mum, just
yes,
go to work or
keep calm and carry on.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, when people say, well, back in my day, we never had any resources like that. We didn't need it. And I think the world we live in is just so much more complicated. With technology and...
Oh, my goodness. And it does make me think, blimey, because I remember being a teenager without social... thank goodness, because there were some fairly horrendous outfits in the 90s and 80s. But, school and navigating teenage life was hard enough without social media. And, all of the things of, that people worry about, of drugs or alcohol or whatever it is, mental health, there's so much more now in the culture and in the dialogue of what it's got to be, and you just think, blimey, you've got to be on top of these things and know sort of how to handle them and what's expected of what the modern parenting is kind of like. So how did you go from the epiphany in your house to going, right, let's put the wheels in motion?
Yeah, I think setting up the survey was the biggest kickstarter for me, because I didn't realise, I set up something, it was just in a closed group really with a few friends, and said, could you ask a few of your friends to fill out the survey? And within 2 days there was 1,400 women in this group.
Wow.
And so it was like, it really filled me with just, it was like just such a driver, because it's really easy at that first idea stage, as everyone knows, for it just to peter out, it's like, oh, that's a nice idea, oh, I don't have time, or I don't have the money, and I think doing that and reading these women's responses, it just, I cried reading what people were saying.
Yeah.
And it was, 65% of women were saying they felt completely disconnected from their partner, that's huge. And so that just kept me going.
And that just so conflicts with what we read in the British press over here, where it is all about snapping back and don't worry, I'm still having sex with my husband 6 nights a week or 3 times a day or whatever, and it's full of those kind of, obviously we all are, but but it's just like, what are you talking about, and why is this the headline? Because if people go, oh my goodness, I haven't washed my hair in 4 days or more than that probably, it's just like everybody can just set themselves up to be such a failure.
Oh, absolutely. That's, everything you read, I always just, and that's what I say, obviously on my Instagram, for example, it's like, it's all about, this is not reality. This is, you just have to look a little bit under the surface, and that's what's going on, you know, and going to the park and seeing mothers, bounding around and having perfect little snacks in the lunchbox, there's no point comparing yourself to that, because underneath it all, that's not what's happening. That's not how they're feeling most of the time. And so, it was really important. And I think for me, because of, what I'd been through, but also just, the more mums I spoke to, it becomes a thing where I just, it kind of pops up in every conversation, like, oh, how's this? And, trying to find out how are you actually really?
Yes.
And the more that I spoke to people, it was just like, this is so needed. And so my why was just so strong every day, getting up and being like, this is my why. I'm meant to be doing this and developing this resource. And I found it took me a long time, well, not a long time, it took me, quite a few weeks to find anyone that was going to be the right fit in terms of developing it. Obviously, I didn't have the technical skills to build an app, and I found an amazing developer over in Melbourne, and they specialised in startups. So you went for a workshop, and it was all about your idea and just planning it all out and looking at it on a global scale. And I think that was so good for me. I got on a plane, I put on different clothes I normally wore,
I wore
away from my kids, and I was, it was like, it was like my alter ego. Off she went to Melbourne to start developing an app.
I love how you connected to your why as well, because I think so many times people go, yeah, but I don't know what I would charge for this, or I don't know how to put together the packages, or where should I have my branding shoot? And actually it's like, no, you've got to, all of those things can be changeable. along the way, and they will, and they'll develop, and you'll love your photos, and then you'll get new ones, or you'll change your website, or you'll want to talk about different things about your blog. But if you can establish that why, that is that driving force from the beginning, that's just going to push you on, because all the other bits are sort of movable parts, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. And I so recommend anyone doing this, but what I did is I created some personas, so I had the woman that I could so clearly picture that had just had a baby and was just feeling so lost and isolated. And then I had the working mum who had 3 kids, and she'd come home and, everything's a complete chaos. And I just kept visualizing these women, they could be real work women. And that really, when I would suddenly have a sort of a crisis of confidence, I would just think of those women, and be like, they need this. What are you doing? Pull yourself together. And I think that's been, quite magical, really, because it's really kept me, so driven with it. So,
and it's shifting, I guess, the focus onto helping others rather than being caught, not you necessarily, but we can all do that. We can all get caught in our own head of, I'm not good enough, or I'm not ready, or what if somebody else takes my idea, or what if there's a competitor in them, all of these sort of limiting beliefs, I guess. And actually connecting with that customer of like, I do that, with my coaching sometimes. It's really hard to, when you're writing your sales page or you're writing your content, I really try and stay away from those like, I'm going to make you live your dream life, because it's like, how can I do that, and like, what even does that mean? But it's lovely when I get those messages going, wow, the fact that I've changed the way I work, we've been able to have that 3rd child that we just kind of took off the table because we just could never afford it and it would just not work for our family. Or I can now take my mum to her chemotherapy appointments because I have flexibility. And it's just, it's those bigger things rather than going, I rarely get people, even though people have, like going, I just got the most amazing Chanel handbag. Like, there's sort of always more to it than that, of why people want to make change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's really important just to find that within yourself, that sits, that keeps you going.
Exactly.
So that's, I feel really blessed that I've had that as part of my journey, and that this is the business that I am in now, because it's so much more than being, for financial gain, or that it's a job. It's just, kind of has become just such an important part of my life.
Absolutely. And what skills have you had to use or tap into or learn to be able to keep moving forward? Because I always say, whenever you start something new, however exciting it is on one side, it brings up all your stuff of like, I can't do this, or sometimes I watch my son practicing his writing, and he'll have this real thing of like, I don't like the way I've drawn that circle, mummy, and he just gets so cross with, and I'm just like, dude, like, he's not 4 yet, he's really trying his best. But what did that process look like for you? Did you bring a lot of skills to the table already, or how was it?
So I've always, my skill has always been in dealing with people, and I think that's why I went into the career I went into. But I've always known, like, my analytical thinking and my sort of that business mind definitely was underdeveloped, and because I think when you're in HR, you don't have to know all the ins and outs of how the business is running and, the mechanics of it. So thankfully my husband does have that mind, and he's very good at sharing that. But then there's also a limit, because obviously we're married, and I don't want to be talking to him about it all the time. So it's really just tapping into those people. I really identified, okay, I need to have people that I can connect with that know these things, and having a good accountant that I really got on with that could, give me those sorts of insights. I hired a PR firm when I first launched Kite, because I didn't know who to connect with, and how even that process sort of, was meant to happen. And the same thing, I had a creative designer, and she actually did a lot of the photography within the app, because it was really important that my brief was that an app that doesn't look like an app. So obviously that's really irritating to developers, because they're like, what does that mean? So, just having those people, even though I wasn't using them all the time, just knowing that I could just tap back in and out of those sorts of things. And, just being really honest with myself, I guess, about how my limitations and the knowledge that I didn't have at that time. So I have a mentor that I see regularly, and so it's just, I think, just that toolbox of people.
We're not supposed to build anything ourselves, it always comes down to a sort of team effort. And when I think about all the resources or things that I've used over the years, or where I've spent money, like I'm sometimes looking for somebody to, meet me halfway and kind of go, look, this is what you should do, or this is what you could do, and give me those options. Because actually, when you're running your own gig, you don't have time to research all of those things, and time is not necessarily on your side. So if people can shortcut the process, happy days.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is that I find it difficult because I could spend all day every day working on Kite,
yes.
And and kind of having to go, I need to cut back some time, I need to spend that time with my family and my husband, so I do need those other people to do it. And obviously the really difficult part is that your budget obviously doesn't always go that far,
Yes.
I don't have, people saying I don't have the luxury of hiring someone to do the PR. So some of it is about finding those, just taking bits, or going to sort of free seminars and just taking little bits and pieces out that you can learn from. But yeah, it's definitely hard to know exactly what you need to know.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people feel like they have to have all of the things in place and all of the trainings before they start to press publish to actually get the thing going. Whereas actually, if you can start really small and just focus on the things that you need to launch and get the wheels in motion, you're going to see that money start to flow in, and then you can reinvest it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so important. I always feel like you always do things before you're ready, not when you're ready.
Yes.
And I always think of this, and it's funnily enough, I've actually just about to start launching a corporate side of the app, which is an organisational wellbeing tool. And the other day, I'm not quite ready, but the other day I just decided to announce it on LinkedIn. Like, this is what I'm doing, everybody. And it was like, there's a part of me that's thinking, don't do that, you're not ready yet. And amazingly, I got people contacting me, wanting to know more about it.
Yeah.
And I just think sometimes it's about just taking that kind of, just backing yourself a bit, and going, cool, I'm just going to tell people about this. I think sometimes we really keep things sort of close to our chest if you're working on an idea or something. And I think sometimes it actually is really a really positive thing to just kind of start talking about it.
Absolutely.
This is a reality.
And when you're in momentum, that's when good things continue to happen. It's like, I know when I'm sort of quiet behind the scenes, or sort of like just, ferreting away and just doing stuff and not communicating, that's when things sort of slow down. And I did a blog post about this earlier, about because between my two children, there's going to be about 4 years difference. And I was just thinking, gosh, if I did that thing that people, a lot of mums will say, of waiting till they both go to school before I then focus on me, that would take me out for 9 years. And you just go, wow, 9 years, imagine the confidence I would lose, or the momentum, or how technology would change. I would just feel like I was so behind. And obviously it's down to personal choice of how people want to run their family, but you know, we are a 2-income family. That's how we like to work, so we can both parent as well. And yeah, it was a really sort of fascinating moment of going, gosh, actually, yeah, that's when I get results, when I'm kind of moving and shaking, not pondering and going into analysis paralysis by any means.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing, I think it is easy to, especially when you work for yourself, is that you just get it so insular, and you know, and I think then the doubt can seep in, whereas I think the more you talk about it, it's like it gives you that confidence. You just start. I hear myself talking about Kite sometimes, and I'm like, I don't know who that person is, but I think it's so important that it's like you say. So yeah,
absolutely. And what helps you to keep things in check, so you're able to be all the things and all the roles that you need to in your life, in terms of keeping yourself topped up? Because I find this for myself sometimes, like the little slice of me time gets smaller and smaller, and about, you know, being about to have another baby, I know that there's going to be a good 6 months, a year, where that portion will get kind of tiny again for me. What helps you to sort of be able to serve and do all the things you need to do?
Yeah, so sleep for me is huge, and that's probably, particularly a mental health sort of reason, is that I know that if it's 2 nights in a row that I've been up maybe worrying, or that on the 3rd night I need to get sleep, because that will start unraveling. And I think that that's the same for anyone, whether they've got a mental health condition or not. But people ask me often, do I live by the activities that are in the app? And I do, a lot of them. There's actually a me time topic in there, which is sort of 3 weeks long, and every day there's a small activity, and I do a lot of those. And one of them is, there are ways of actually switching my mind off, and that's really important, because I find myself thinking about my business, and then I'm around the kids and I'm completely distracted, and then I'm hearing my husband talk and I'm completely distracted. So it's finding those little bite-sized things that I do. So music is a big thing, so I always try and play really loud music when I'm cooking, for example, to just stop, because that's when my mind starts going. I'm cooking away, and I feel like I need to rein it back in. I always try and shower without really thinking any thoughts, just focusing on the water, and that's something I really actively try and do every day, because again, it's that period of time that I can stop thinking, and I think that's really key. And just doing little things, I have something that I don't actually really read anymore, and I find I still love reading, but it's just because I'm reading so much throughout the day and thinking and looking at words. But I always try and buy a really unusual, quirky magazine, and I just only read 1 page at a time. Tiny little bits, and so I'll go to bed and I'm like, I'm just going to read my page, and I feel it and I smell the page. You know how there's such a nice smell, and it's like a little tiny thing, and then it might take me like 4 weeks to read a magazine and it's fine, and I love it. So for me, it's just those really small ways to, rein myself back in again, really, because I absolutely see myself getting quite carried away, and it's almost like it's just, I know, no, you just need to focus here and think about something else, and then I can sit and play with the kids and I'm not thinking about work, which is really healthy.
And I think you're so right about those easy wins, because sometimes the world of Instagram will convince you that you have to be on a retreat or having a spa day or going for a makeover or just basically spending loads of money, whereas actually in order to get all of those things, those logistics in place to be able to leave your child or go for a massage, or I had my hair cut yesterday, and that was great and it felt really good. But generally when my son's at nursery, I'm doing stuff. I've got, like, you know, that's when my to-do list gets done. So, I mean, you know, people would probably argue, like, you need to take more time for yourself. But I think sometimes I can get what I need in 20 minutes. And before I got pregnant, I was running a lot in the mornings. Oh, it wasn't far, it wasn't fast, but it was so good for my head, and just having that reflective sort of downloading time was just brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is just it's the fresh air often, isn't it? Like, you don't have to be even moving very fast at all. It's just that kind of change of atmosphere. Yeah. So I totally agree with that too. And I think we can put so much pressure on ourselves, you know, to be doing everything. Like, you should be eating well and going for a 5K run and meditating for an hour, and it's just, there's so much. Yes. And I think that makes people feel guilty because they're not doing that, and they're therefore not looking after themselves. And it's funny, when I was actually researching for the content for the app, there was things that would pop up like 101 ways to reconnect in your relationship. Like, who is going to look at that and think, oh, that seems achievable? You know, you just,
well, sometimes you're so tired, you're like, I can't remember how to count to 101, let alone, like, you know, oh my, wow. Or you used to have those things, that we used to have this awful magazine, well, I'm sure it wasn't awful, but it was just highly unsuitable for 12, 13, 14-year-olds, of More magazine, and it was always like 87 sexual positions that are going to please your partner, and my mum was like, why are you reading this at 13? But, you know, it was just something that was passed around at school, but like 87 is quite a number.
Oh, yeah. And I think it almost makes people feel like they should know all of them.
I know.
You know, like, you need to remember all 87. So
otherwise you're terrible, that was stuff. But yeah.
There's a lot of pressure.
Exactly. What surprised you the most about this journey, and like what you've done and where you're going? Where have you what's sort of surprised you externally, and then where have you surprised yourself?
Yeah, I think I never realised, so something I didn't realise I was going to do, which was to share so publicly in the media my mental health, alongside launching the app. So I never had seen it going in that direction, and I think it kind of just happened organically. You know, I wrote a blog because I just felt that was important to have my story alongside my business and be authentic, and it just kind of carried on, and that journey has just been I just could never have imagined it happening like that. And you know, I've had opportunities to talk about mental health in these really large scale sort of speaking engagements and front page of the newspaper, and you know, and then the outpouring of support from that, and then the connections from there. I mean, that's just been absolutely incredible. And you know, it's not really part of the business at all, because the app isn't, you know, necessarily an app for women who are mentally unwell. It's for everyone, but it's just, I think that's just been a really amazing side product of it. So you know, and just seeing the reactions of people with it, and the messages that I get. I mean, every single day I'll get a message that will almost make me cry, just because of, you know, which is just, that's so foreign to me in terms of how I saw running a business. You know, like, I didn't see all this sort of outside kind of influences coming in, and people that I was going to be able to connect with. I just, you know, which has been incredible.
Well, that just shows like a different side of things as well, in terms of corporate is all about like the bums on seats, or the KPIs, or how much we've increased our revenue, and those are the markers of success. But actually, and obviously, you know, we want to be in profit, and we want to be being paid for our hard work and growing and all the rest of it. But you're right, sometimes those testimonials or those emails, you know, I get a lot of emails sort of based on this, or after sessions, those are the ones that kind of hit you between the eyeballs, and you're just like, oh, okay, that's why I'm doing this. Or sometimes if I do speaking events and you just see, like, there's a moment where quite often I'll do exercises with people, and just the way that they hold the pen and they process the information, you almost see the penny drop of like, oh my goodness, there it is. And that's when it's just so powerful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm honestly overwhelmed with the connections that I've made, you know, especially my view of social media, I mean, especially Instagram. I didn't really know how that worked from a business perspective, you know, like I just had it for just sharing photos of my kids with my friends. And this, you know, it blows my mind every day, the people that I'm communicating with, you know, globally. That's just been so rewarding, you know, and, you know, women, even with sort of similar type businesses with similar sort of goals and similar whys, and, you know, I don't see it as being, oh, we shouldn't really connect because, you know, it might cross over. It's just so wonderful to be supporting each other and building each other up. And I didn't see that. That's been surprising to me, because I always saw Instagram as sort of being this, you know, kind of dragging people down and making people feel terrible about themselves. And there's a really good side to it.
I agree, and it's a really great insight of what is possible. And sometimes those beautiful profiles where, you know, the woman is wearing skyscraper heels and getting on a yacht and doing all of this sort of stuff, I'm just like, oh wow, I'm really not resonating with that, with some, you know, mum bun and some weird loungewear that I seem to be wearing. But when people will share sometimes like the money that they can make or how they've launched something, or, you know, this is why I just love doing this podcast, because it's showing an alternative, it's showing a different side. And I think that comes back really to my why, that I spent so many of my teenage years, or, you know, even 20s as well, just feeling lost and knowing that I wanted to do something and kind of package up my own version of this career, but I just didn't see it and I didn't know it was possible. And also the voices that I was hearing, you know, from a very sort of northern secondary school upbringing was a bit like, no, just keep following, follow the crowd, do what they've done, don't walk outside the lines. And it was just, you know, I knew that didn't feel wrong, that didn't feel right for me. But after a while you're like, yeah, but does what I want to do, is that the right thing? So I was always in conflicts about that.
Yeah, it's so difficult, because I feel like each day you wake up, you can be sort of have a different persona, you know, how you're feeling, like, you know, you might be doubting yourself, you might be on top of the world, you might be thinking, what on earth have I done? You know, there could be so many different hats that you're wearing.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, and it can be so isolating. Like I said to you, you know, it's you know, especially, working on your own, it's even though you've got people around you that care about you and your friends and things, that nobody understands what you're going through. And that can be really difficult as well.
I remember in the early days I turned into Monica Geller, you know, in Friends, where she keeps running into the room going, I'm getting married today, and I would do that to my partner and go, I've written my about page, and he's like, okay, great, and I'd run back in. I'm like, I think the website works. Like, it was just like, I couldn't believe that actually I was able to piece these things together. So tell me, what are the plans for Kite? Where do you see it going in the next sort of 5 or 6 years?
Yeah,
or
so
the next
my
6
goal,
months or a year, you know.
I know, it's fun, isn't it? So my goal, so at the moment, it's a paid app. So my goal is to make it a free app for mums. That would be, you know, absolutely where I see it going. And the corporate app is the way that I can get there. And so my goal is, at the moment, it's actually really exciting, but I've got, I see it being sold and delivered by consultants, you know, self-employed consultants. And I've got about 15 women at the moment who are really, really keen to do it and to bring it into corporate land, and all from sort of similar backgrounds to me in HR and well-being and things. And so my goal with it, and this is my dream, is that it is global. It is in, the majority of organisations and sort of most main centres, and that would be my dream, that's so successful that the Mum app and is almost like my passion project, and I can put a lot into that and helping mums, and also with mental health as well. My dream would be that I can support mental health initiatives with some of the profits from the Kite corporate side. So yeah, I feel like when I picture Kite in my mind, when I look at it, it is just the globe, like it is just a world map. That's what I see, and it's funny when I think about everything happening, it's like I can just see it. I'm such a visual person anyway, but I can just see it all plotted out, and I guess that is that dream big thing. But yeah, I definitely have got big dreams for it.
Amazing. And if people want to come and find out more, where should they go? How can they connect with you? Because I'm sure people will be like, oh yes, oh brilliant, this is what I've been doing all my life.
Yeah. So you can find my website's thekiteprogram.com, but the best place to really sort of see what I'm doing and follow Kite is on Instagram, which is @thekiteprogram. And the app itself can be downloaded on both the App Store and Google Play Store, which is just searching the Kite program. So
fantastic!
Yeah.
Oh, Hannah, I've loved chatting. I feel really inspired. Like, I always feel like this after when people are doing amazing technological things. I'm like, I'm gonna do that, and then I'm like, oh, I don't know how to build it. I always get so. But again, it's that thing. If somebody has a different skill set of what you do, I'm just always so fascinated that people can do it. But you've been such a brilliant guest. Thank you so much for all your wisdom and everything you've shared.
Oh, thanks, Nikki.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you haven't already, feel free to rate, review and subscribe for all the brand new episodes. If you want to go deeper with my support, check out my freebies house and unlock the rooms you choose. nickyraby.com/freebies house. I also have workshops, programs and one-on-one bespoke offerings. For prices, availability or just to have a chat with me, go to nickyraby.com. Thank you as always for spending some time with me and my guests, and I'll see you next time.